since we're on the topic of natural disasters,
Ooh, okay.
inflation,
Yeah.
everything going on in our world.
Yeah.
Well, now there's a new zombie virus outbreak in Russia.
Oh, here we go. Welcome back. We're your host, Savannah.
And Kaylin.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are going to go ahead and dive into our first segment, Beyond the Headlines. So, what you have for us today, Kaylin? I know you said you have some things to go over.
Yes. The first thing I wanted to talk about today, out of respect, I feel like it's the most important topic on my mind, is these fires in Hawaii. I have found some interesting information that I'm not sure if you know about, and it just wouldn't sit right with me if we didn't talk about it today.
Yeah.
So I did take some notes so I wouldn't get any facts, twisted. But the Lahaina fire is actually the deadliest wildfire in the US in more than a century.
Really? More than a
Yeah,
century?
more than a century.
Oh my God.
Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Um, One of the things people were pointing out that's weird is when you look at natural wildfires, you can, if you look at the trees, they are black, no leaves.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a certain look to it, and a lot of the trees in Hawaii are fine.
What the heck? What kind of trees do they have in
So,
Hawaii though? Like
well, there's people conspiring that it wasn't a natural wildfire,
Oh.
which we'll talk about a little bit more. But I just want to talk about some of the things that I thought were fucked up.
Okay.
Water was turned off when
Wait,
these
like
fires
all water
happened.
in the community?
All water, even the firefighters ran out of water
How does that even
and didn't have
happen?
access. The alarms were not set off at all. School was canceled that day because of the hurricane. So all of these kids were at home alone without their parents
Oh my God, my
when this
heart.
went down.
Yeah.
Escape routes were blocked by fallen power lines and trees and stuff, so people couldn't get out.
Wait,
Um,
this is sounding like very malevolent and purposeful. But why?
I'll get to that.
Oh
So
God. Okay, okay.
here is the big kicker. They knew that there was a hurricane coming through.
Yeah.
They have systems in place for natural disasters. They are on an
Right.
island. They have
Mhm.
plenty of systems in place. The power lines were never shut off. And there's actually a
Mm,
lawsuit happening because there is video footage proof that the power lines that got knocked down by the winds that were still live caused the fire.
what?
They're allegedly, people think it caused all of it, but they don't have factual
Yeah,
proof yet that
proof.
it caused all of them. But there is a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit going on
Oh my God.
against the power company
The
because
plot
they were
thickens.
negligent. They were negligent and didn't turn off the power. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Here is an article from CNN, okay?
Okay.
As gale force winds rushed the slopes of Maui's mountains early Tuesday morning, Shane True, I think his name is pronounced True,
Mhm.
stood outside his home with a garden hose, one of the first people in Lahaina to fight what would become America's deadliest wildfire in more than a century.
Oh
A
my God.
power line on his street had been knocked down against the howling winds, and True said in a Facebook Live video, which showed flames in the grassland across the street and thick smoke obscuring his sweeping ocean view.
Wow.
County and state officials have said the cause of the fire has not yet been determined, but in a lawsuit filed Saturday, a Lahaina couple argued that Hawaiian Electric and three subsidiaries, including the power utility that services Maui, were responsible for the blaze.
Wow.
The company inexcusably kept their power lines energized during the storm, despite warnings from the National Weather Service about dangerous winds, the lawsuit stated. That caused loss of life, serious injuries, destruction in hundreds of homes and businesses, displacement of thousands of people, and damage to many of Hawaii's historic and cultural sites.
How did they miss something like that is what I want to know. How? Especially with all the protocol put in place that they had. I mean, it's Hawaii, for heaven's sake. Like, they do.
So, their siren warning system, the largest in the world,
Hmm.
with about 400 alarms, was not activated at all during the fires.
That's not sus at all.
Yeah. That's according to Hawaii Emergency Management Agency.
Do you know if they ever had issues with that in the past?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hmm.
So here's another weird coincidence.
Okay.
You know the police chief, John Pelletier, that was the main one in response to the 2017 Vegas massacre?
Mm-hmm.
He's now the police chief of Hawaii.
Really? Oh my
Yes.
god, I'm like connecting the dots in my head over here.
So it just gets deeper, okay?
Okay.
Investors are already sending offers to the victims to try to buy their land.
No.
Now,
Bro.
let me explain something. Hawaii, all of these historic land, like
Yeah.
all these historic places,
Yeah.
investors can't get their hands on because it's historic. Not
Right.
anymore, they're burnt down.
Wow. So does that mean they can get their hands on it because it burnt
Yes.
down, so now it's like open
Yep.
to them basically?
Yep.
Hmm.
And there's
Hmm.
actually petitions against it, which I will link in the bio of
Okay.
this video.
So
It
this was
has,
already a problem that they were worried about.
yeah, people have been trying for years to get their hands on this land.
Wow.
So here's another crazy thing. A month before all this happened, guess who bought 870 acres of land in Maui?
Who?
Oprah Winfrey.
Hell no. Oh my god. Wait, this does not surprise me at all though, because I've always felt like she was sketchy.
There's so much stuff surrounding her and her name and conspiracies revolving around
Yeah.
her. And yes, some people will argue, well, it's Hawaii. Why wouldn't she want to buy land there? But it's just weird timing.
The timing.
So she purchased the land for nearly 6.6 million in the recent months,
Okay.
adding to hundreds of acres of real estate she already owns
So
there.
she already had land there
Yes.
and she bought more.
She bought 4 parcels total, according to the
Okay.
sales deed obtained by Maui Now. 2 large parcels were sold February 10th, about 520 acres, and went for 3.89 million, and 330 acres were sold for 2.47 million.
Damn. What's she doing with all this land?
Right. So, I don't know, it's such a tragedy, and
Mhm.
I feel for all of these people who just lost their home, just lost everything,
Mhm.
lost their family.
Devastating.
And now, what do they have? People snorkeling around dead bodies because people are still visiting Hawaii and
Yeah,
still snorkeling in the waters where 1,000 people are still missing.
that is so disrespectful. It's not even funny. People talk about like going visiting the Titanic 100 years later because you're
Yeah,
desecrating their graves. Okay, what about Maui? To me, I mean
right.
that's worse. It's more recent. It
And
just
harassing
happened.
them to buy the land.
Oh man, don't get me started on that. Do they
Right,
I mean they have no heart, no empathy. They can't.
right. And then the police chief I was speaking about,
Yeah.
he is trying to get access or permission to basically have the state take over the land. And his defense to why he wants to
Oh
do that is
no.
so investors can't, get their hands on it, and he wants to make new smart homes
Of course he
on the
does.
land. Yeah. And
Yes.
then not to mention today the announcement of they're sending $700 per household for relief. Are you kidding me?
$700. That doesn't even cover rent if you think about it. Like, I
No.
don't know what rent goes for out there, but it can't cover it. There's no
They
way.
don't even have houses to pay rent on anymore.
Right? But I mean, oh, that's true. So what are they
Like, they
supposed
need a
to
lot
do?
more than that.
Oh my
$700
god, that's
is
so
not gonna do
true.
nothing.
Because they literally have to build their lives from nothing from the ground up.
Yeah,
$700 is like a penny in that
yeah.
equation. A penny. It
So
disgusted
it's so
me.
sad. I'm seeing these videos of people driving through the fire and jumping into the ocean and waiting 7 hours for the fires to stop,
Oh
and
my god.
just I feel for them, my heart goes out to them, and I know we don't have a huge following, but if
Yeah.
talking about it and adding donation links in our bio, which I will
Oh.
be adding, and they are from reputable sources, and there's about 3 or 4 of them, and there's a link to sign a petition so that people can not own buy this land and steal this land from these people.
Yeah.
It'll all be in the description. If anyone can help, $5 makes a difference, literally.
Mhm. Yep.
So, just sharing it makes a difference. Like I said, I know we don't have a huge following, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit and try to raise some awareness and try to,
Yeah.
you know,
The
use
littlest
my
bit
voice any way
counts.
I can.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
matters no matter what. So, and I think even talking about it is good because then you're raising awareness and you're making
right.
sure that people know all the right details and the truth about what's really going on there. Because the average consumer would like read a news article about it and just be like, "Oh, that sucks. Oh well, it
Yeah. It
happens.
doesn't affect
Wildfires
me, so I'm
happen."
not gonna worry about it.
Exactly, but it's so much deeper though than like just a wildfire, which I didn't know. I mean, it goes so much deeper than that. And it's corrupt, man. Oh my God. It makes me
Very.
so angry, like at the government and at the people in power and at all the, extremely top 5% wealthy of the world. Like,
Yeah,
it makes me sick to my stomach.
me
And
too.
not just the Maui thing, but like everything going on right now. It's just like, a lot of the problems happening in the world right now, especially America, are because of these huge corporations and these billionaires
Yeah,
and the government. So it's frustrating.
so frustrating. And I know everyone feels it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel, like, so overwhelmed by everything, and I feel
Mhm.
like, oh, feeling alone in it, but
Yeah.
obviously everyone's going through it.
I
Always
know.
has been low key.
Yeah. I've been watching so many videos lately on YouTube and everything because I don't have TikTok or any other social media, obviously.
Yeah,
And I've just been like watching compilations of people venting on TikTok just about their problems, money, inflation, getting disapproved for disability when they have all the evidence that they need. Just everyone as a whole, you could tell, like as a collective, we're just done. Like we're
yeah,
wondering at this point, it's not like, oh, I can't afford to get my hair done this month. Now it's like, oh, I can't afford to live somewhere this month. Like, what am I gonna
yeah,
do?
seriously, it's to the point where if you have a home, if you have a
Mhm,
car, if you have food in your house, you just
mhm.
have to be thankful.
Yeah, you're already doing better than like half the people out there right now. It's so sad.
Seriously.
And it's crazy because to me, like 50K a year, 60K a year, whatever, those used to be good salaries in my
Yeah,
head. For
yeah,
someone living in Florida without any kids, I was like, oh, that's a great salary. And that's not
right,
my salary. I'm just giving a generalized
right,
range. But nowadays, you have to make well above six figures to
yeah,
actually be
live
successful,
comfortably.
live
Yeah,
comfortably, do all the things that you used to do, you
mhm.
know? I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm having problems even like leaving the house without spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because what are you
Seriously,
gonna
I feel stuck in
do?
the house because it's like, "Oh, we could go hang out and do a picnic," but it's 500 degrees outside.
Yeah, and on top of that, you have to buy the food, you have to buy the silverware, the plates, the just
Right,
everything. I mean, it all adds up. And on top of that, you have gas money if you stop for
and
coffee.
gas has went up, man.
Oh my God, gas is
I
insane
don't
right
see it
now.
going down anytime soon either.
No, no, not at all. So I have some videos I wanted to show
Okay,
you. I was thinking we could react to. It's TikTok compilations.
okay,
Um,
perfect.
so it's pouring rain right now.
It's about to rain here
Pouring
too.
rain. Can you hear it?
Not at all.
Oh wow. It's like it's actually really cozy, not gonna lie.
I'm
Okay.
jealous.
Who needs to hear this? But outside costs a minimum of $300. Stay home, okay?
Yep.
Stay home.
That, like I was telling you about this
Hey fam, doing
weekend.
a little something different on the channel today. I wanted to talk about inflation when it comes to TikTok's reaction. I know I can make a lot of videos about this and I can talk about this, but it really is something very different to see so many other people's reactions to not only inflation, but just the price of living right now. I want to know what you guys think about
Yeah.
some of the videos you're about to watch. I'll kind of break in and give a little
This is
commentary
the original
back and
poster
forth,
talking,
but
by
I
the
wanted
way,
to know really
of the
Oh,
what
YouTube
okay.
you
channel.
think, and I want to get that conversation going. That first video that started out, I honestly have to agree with her. I feel like every time I leave the house, for me, it's not like a minimum of 3, it's more like a minimum of 100. I just said that to my
Yeah,
husband. I'm like, every time I leave
Oh,
this
yeah.
house, it's like
definitely
$100
100.
is gone. I
Absolutely
feel like
100.
$100 is a dollar
Definitely.
now.
Inflation will remain sticky for a decade,
Oh,
and Gen
great.
Z and millennials are to blame, says
Oh,
Fortune
nice.
magazine. It's our fault again. But wait, why is it our fault? Well, according to Fortune, it's because we're spending all our money on necessities. In other words, Gen Z and millennials are so broke that we're spending all our money on food and housing instead of like luxury items. The main takeaway here is that inflation isn't going away anytime soon. But
Love
not
her.
to worry, the 1% have some advice for us peasants. Just don't eat! To save money, maybe you should skip breakfast. Intermittent
Yo,
fasting, am I right? Come on, kids. Instead of
The sad thing is people are really doing that.
I've been doing that, I'm not gonna lie. Not
Yeah.
on purpose, but if I find that I'm not hungry and
Yeah.
it's the morning time and I'm busy and I forget about food anyways, then
Yeah.
I
For
just
me, it's
skip
normally
it.
lunch
Mhm,
I
mhm.
forget about.
I mean,
spending
granted,
your
it's
money
not on purpose to save money, but still, I'm
Right.
thinking in my head, I'm like, "Ooh, but then I can save this for tomorrow, and then I don't have to buy as many groceries next time," you know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
on necessities like food, you should buy some junk to help me and my executive friends buy a new yacht. Instead
Literally.
of let them eat cake, it's don't let them eat eggs.
Yes!
Maybe we should just change the name of America to AmeriCorp, since we're just 5 companies in a trench coat pretending to be a country.
Literally.
I just have to say real quick about the whole, like, it's not don't let them eat cake, let them eat eggs. It's
Right.
so fucking true because I was just thinking the other day about how the rich are super thin. They're, they stay fit, they stay healthy. And then they're getting on to us, the broke, poor, normal people in America saying,
Yeah.
you need to lose weight, you need to do this and do that so you fit in with us better. But it's like we're not on the same level. We don't have the same resources that they
When
do
I tell you
or income.
I've been having to eat canned green beans, and I'm so fucking
Yep.
tired.
I've been having to eat canned fruit and vegetables for like almost the first time ever in my life.
Yeah.
And you know how my mom was like a health nut? And we would have like
Yeah.
fresh produce from the farm. We would have
It's
like
just
grass
not
fed beef.
affordable.
It's not attainable. And it sucks. Like, I think I've had to make spaghetti like 5 times in the past week just to like
Yeah.
reuse what we
And it's
have
like
and it's cheap.
even if you do have money to buy
Mhm.
fresh stuff, it's
Mhm.
not really fresh.
Mm-mm.
It's not good quality.
No.
It's sad.
Probably sprayed with pesticides.
Yep.
Anyway.
Guys, I don't know how the average American is making it right now because from the looks of it, things are just going to hell.
Hmm.
For example, if you want to rent an apartment, the landlord wants proof of income 3 times the rent. And
That's
out here in northern New
insane.
Jersey, that means a 1 bedroom, you got to be making 30 to 50% more than the national average.
That is crazy, bro.
Groceries
Yeah.
have gone up like crazy. It's like it seems like it keeps creeping up ever so slightly, but after 3 4 months, you feel like it's a you feel the increase. Because last year, I would be shopping for myself alone twice a week, and it would run me about $80 each trip.
That sounds
Now it's costing
accurate.
me like 125 to
Yep.
140 per
Yeah.
trip, and when I
Literally 6 months ago, I could shop
Mhm.
at Aldi for my house of 4
Yeah.
and pay $200 for 2 weeks of groceries. Now, I spend $350 for a week of food at
Fucking
Aldi.
crazy. Oh, yeah? Oh yeah, I want to hear this. Ricky and I, as you know, went to Winn-Dixie the other day because we finally needed groceries. We put it off long enough, and we made out with a whole cart full, practically a little under a cart full, for like $189, and
How?
that's not the original price. Like we saved a lot of money because we
Mhm.
used coupons in the app, and we also just got a lot of things that were on sale or buy one get one free because you have to do that now.
Yeah.
But honestly, almost everything we got, it was just like pantry items, cheap pantry items that will last forever and not go bad.
Yeah, which is
And
smart.
yeah, but it's like we didn't have really any meat
Oh,
because it's
meat is
just so
another story.
expensive. Oh yeah, lab grown meat.
And
It's
it's
just
just
so
so expensive
expensive.
regardless, like
Yeah. So it's like, what's the point? So we came up with like different protein options like beans and stuff. I don't even like beans.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, I'm
these
not
are
a
the
huge
times we live
fan.
in.
I have to, like, sprinkle him in something. I can't just
But
eat a
it
fucking bowl of
sucks
beans.
because to me, for a household of 2 people, and honestly, even though it might look like it, we don't have much of an appetite. Either one of
Yeah,
us, we don't eat a lot, surprisingly.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
it's because you
sometimes
have canned beans.
no, even besides that, we just get full
Yeah,
really, really quickly. Like, we eat a few
yeah.
bites of our meal and be like, "Ugh, can't
I've
handle
been like
anymore."
that lately too, like, very just, like, picking at my food and, like, just not an appetite, you know?
Yeah, it's
Or
super
I'll be
weird.
hungry, but I just don't want
Yeah.
anything.
But anyway, so we for a household of 2 young adults who don't even eat that much for like 1 week, it was $189. That's
Yeah, that's a lot.
crazy to me. And it's not like we got anything that extra. You know what I mean? Like we didn't
Yeah,
get any we used to get like desserts and fun bakery items every once in a while. We didn't get any of that. And it
yeah.
was that expensive.
I know,
So
Ricky likes his croissants.
he does his croissants, and we love coconut cake, okay? That's, like, our absolute favorite.
Mhm.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Hell yeah.
Okay, anyway, moving on.
Sorry.
No, no, you're good.
Include going out maybe once or twice a week to eat. My total for food is coming out to be crazy. It's over $1,000.
Oh,
And I know it wasn't like that growing up, it's gotten out of hand. But people are walking around like nothing's wrong, everything is fine, everything's dandy.
That is so
But it
true,
won't be
wow.
long before people are gonna have to decide whether to pay the rent, pay the mortgage, or feed their families.
Oh my
And of
god,
course
that
people are
hurts.
gonna choose to feed their
yeah.
families. And so who knows what's gonna happen. But I was at the mall the other day and it was pretty packed. But there wasn't really that many people holding bags. It was just people hanging around window shopping, which doesn't mean squat. It just means
Yeah.
people want to get out of their houses and
Not have to
hang
spend
around,
money.
maybe eat at the
Yeah,
food court.
exactly.
And that the food court was popping, of course. But we're gonna have to wait and see. I foresee a lot of a lot more shoplifting,
Yeah,
a lot of stores
absolutely.
going out of
Yeah.
business because of that, and there's gonna be a lot of break-ins, a lot of cars.
Oh god. I just have to say, you know what I'm gonna say? We had our vehicle broken into, like, a week
Yeah.
ago. So it's so funny that he's bringing this up because I've definitely noticed an increase in
Yeah.
criminal activity, because
Yeah.
we live in a big city, and the criminal activity is bad enough as it is, you live there,
Mhm.
and now add this inflation, everything else going on in the world right now,
Right.
and it just makes sense why it's increasing so dramatically. We got broken into, someone a few streets down, their vehicle got broken into. I get notifications on my Ring app every single day that someone's vehicle or house got broken into, or
Yeah.
someone's checking car doors. Like it's a constant thing now. Whereas 6 months ago, a year ago, I used to hear about it on Ring, like, I don't know, like not even once a week sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
Being
Already.
stolen, a lot of parts being stolen, wheels, catalytic converters, which is already happening, but it's gonna you know, more and more people are gonna
Right.
wanna do it because they have no other way. More and more people are gonna turn to scamming and stealing and all that stuff because
Speaking of that, it's already to the point where you can't even look for jobs without getting scammed. You can't even be excited for a job interview anymore because nowadays they're just trying to get your information to rob you.
Exactly. Yep.
Like,
Things have gotten so expensive. So we'll see. What's the solution? The only solution is for the banks and the Federal Reserve to forgive all debt.
Yep.
That's the only way. There's no other solution.
Maybe
Even if
universal
we took
healthcare.
20 nations to war and gave them money to buy from us, it still wouldn't help the situation.
no.
So in order to bring inflation down, we've got to raise interest rates.
Yeah. So then, like, housing is going to be even less affordable than before?
Yeah. And like, people are going to lose their jobs.
We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve maximum employment and financial stability goals.
Maximum employment? We can't all have jobs?
No, that's not how the system works.
What about asking corporations to just lower their prices?
No, don't be ridiculous.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand.
Well, Gen Z is pissed at us boomers, and I can't say that I blame them. There was an article that came out the other day that said you would have to have 5 minimum wage jobs to live in Austin, Texas, to afford the rent there.
Oh my God.
It's ridiculous. So those of you who say, well, back in 1980, I made $15 an hour and I bought a house.
Calling
Well,
him
guess
out.
what? Adjusted for inflation, your $15 an hour that you made in 1980 would now be over $112,000 a year.
Wow.
You know, most young people I meet, they want to work. A lot of people say, oh, the new generation doesn't want to work and they're lazy. No, that's not true. They're smart. They're smarter than us. They just don't want
Amen.
your crappy $15 an hour job.
Remember when prices started skyrocketing and we were all like, hey, this is corporate greed, but then we were gaslit by US government officials and economists who said it was all in our heads? It turns out it's not in our heads. Greed inflation is real. Financial experts were not just denying that corporate profits were causing inflation, they were actually blaming consumers, which is like peak gaslighting. Like toxic boyfriends should study this communication tactic because we all sort of believe the financial experts. Now a lot of financial experts are like, wait, this greed inflation thing is not a fringe theory. So here's the deal. Even though inflation is coming down, it's still really high. And the former vice chair of the Fed was like, hey, it's not people getting higher wages that's driving inflation. Instead, she says what's making everything expensive is something called price to price spiral, which is basically price gouging. Companies just mark up the cost of their products and services even though their input cost hasn't increased. This guy is a famous economist and he was even like, profit margins have led to inflation. And this was getting really egregious in 2022 when retailers and some consumer brand companies were convincing their shoppers that, hey, we have no choice, we just have to raise prices, which is actually not true. And the thing is, a lot of companies started convincing us that this is just how it works.
And this doesn't include the small businesses. This is these major corporations we mentioned earlier.
We love
everything.
Small businesses. We
Yes,
support
we will
them.
always support the small businesses.
Always.
Has to go up in price and we have to accept it. Technically, that's not how economics works. There's this saying that economists like to say, especially in colleges, where high prices are cured by high prices, which means that a company can only make something as expensive as a customer is willing to pay. That's why cars don't sell for $1 million. That price is like way too outrageous. But during this time, we're seeing like cars that usually sell for $30,000 being sold for $50,000. And there's enough buyers that believe that price is fair that they're buying it, even though it shouldn't actually cost that much to buy the car.
So what if we all stopped? What would happen, I wonder?
I know.
You know what I mean?
I've seen a lot of people talking about that. Like everyone
Me too.
going on strike at the
But
same time.
the thing is, hang on, I have a bug.
So we'll be linking that video in our description in case you want to go, give her a like, subscribe. We appreciate, the
The great
compilation that
content.
was made. Yeah. But it's definitely crazy, man.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but I find those types of videos so comforting because it's like, I'm going through
Yeah,
it, you're
it's
going through
validating.
it, everyone is going through it, and so it
Right,
almost feels like we have a community in a way,
right.
and that we're all just, like, not putting up with this bullshit. Like, I truly feel like a, like, kind of rebellion is about to start. I really do feel like
Yeah.
something is
Oh,
about
yeah.
to happen.
I
People are
see
just
a lot
done.
of rioting.
Yep.
I see a lot of protesting.
More
I see
strikes.
strikes. Yep.
Yep.
So it's gonna get way worse, more rough out here before it gets better.
Exactly.
And hopefully it does get better.
Hopefully.
Since we're on the topic of natural disasters,
Ooh, okay.
inflation,
Yeah.
everything going on in our world,
Yeah.
well, now there's a new zombie virus outbreak in Russia.
Oh, here we go.
So,
No!
if you
Ah!
thought what we were going through was bad, so this is the headliner from the Washington Post, okay?
Oh god, okay.
Zombie viruses are thawing and melting permafrost because of climate change. So, the thawing of the permafrost due to the climate change may expose a vast store of ancient viruses, according to a team of European researchers.
What is going
They
on?
have found 13 previously unknown pathogens that had been trapped and previously frozen in the previous frozen ground of Russia's vast Siberian region. And
What is
they've already,
happening?
for years, they have discovered different viruses and diseases this way.
Yeah.
But the scientists found that one virus that they estimated had been stranded under a lake more than 48,000 years ago. They said, highlighting a potential new danger from the warming planet, what they called zombie viruses.
Hmm. So they're
Now,
calling them zombie viruses because they used to be active. Now they've been dormant.
frozen,
And now it's
yeah,
happening again.
and they're like extreme
Okay.
viruses. Well, now from
Mhm.
the futurism.com, this is what I'm referencing, and I will
Yeah.
put a little clip in here. Russia says patients infected with the deadly bacteria have escaped.
Wait,
So
patience. What
now,
do you mean?
now we have, so people have caught this zombie
Yeah.
virus.
Oh, so people have already caught it. It's not
Yes,
just like, oh,
and they have
great.
escaped. And apparently, it's
Okay.
extremely contagious
Why would they escape?
because they probably had them in some crazy holding area, like isolated, and they didn't want to be there. I don't know.
Yeah, but the fact that they were able to escape is kind of scary.
I don't know.
Like,
But
what kind of
okay,
security do they have
this
there?
is from the futurism.com. Okay.
Okay.
It sounds like the plot of an infectious disease thriller.
Mhm.
On On the plains of Siberia, a dinner party partakes of horse meat that secretly harbors a
Oh,
rare and deadly bacteria.
okay.
One guest starts showing signs of an infection. Oh yeah, once guest starts showing signs of an infection, they are sent to the hospital, but some escape their sick beds, panicking local officials who send out an alert. That's how it allegedly went down in Tuva, a, rep- a republic in Russia's southern Siberian region in late June. And the
Mm.
bacteria that made everybody sick is anthrax, according to TASS, a Russian state run news agency.
So do we know what
So,
anthrax is?
let me pull it up real quick. So, anthrax is a serious infectious disease caused by gram-positive rod-shaped bacteria.
Okay.
So it's just the category of disease, I guess.
Yeah.
But just crazy, like now we possibly gonna have zombies out here.
That's insane because first we had COVID and then just a bunch of other bullshit followed that, like
Yeah,
riots and inflation and all kinds of crazy stuff. And now we're
right.
over here with another virus and it's hasn't even been 5 years.
No. And who else knows or who knows what they'll discover once these
Yeah,
ice caps and shit keep melting.
I know. What a time to be alive. Oh, and UFOs. What
And
a time to
UFOs,
be
yeah.
alive.
What a time to be alive, man.
So, time for the second segment. As you guys already know, hopefully, it's Behind the Curtain, where we talk about conspiracy theories and just spooky things.
Yes.
So, I'm ready. I'm excited.
So today we're going to be talking about the Appalachian Mountains.
Ooh.
And not necessarily the folklore of it, but the creepy, mysterious things that wander the forest.
Okay. Okay.
So, one thing I have to note is it is commonly mispronounced as Appalachian, and it's actually Appalachian, which I didn't know until
I
recently.
called it Appalachian.
Yeah, me
quite a few
too.
times.
'Cause that's all that I've ever heard.
Appalachian, like that.
So, they have what's called the no you don't rules. If you hear something, no you don't. If you see something, no you don't.
Oh my god.
And if something calls your name from the forest, no it didn't.
Yes, I
And then they advise to leave quickly, but don't run because running just activates their predator prey instincts.
Who's they?
We're about to find out.
Okay.
So, people also say to close your curtains before sundown so nothing can see you.
Oh my
if you
god.
live out there. And to never whistle when you're in the woods or look into the tree lines.
That's a lot to remember.
Well, people said they have heard people calling their name while they're in the forest hiking. And most of the time, it's people they know.
Oh lord.
So they advise you that if you hear that, it is not who you think it is. Do not acknowledge it and leave.
Oh my god.
But there's also reportedly been deer that send chills down your spine. People say either you just get a weird feeling about them, or supposedly there have been deer spotted with multiple, like more than two eyes,
Ugh.
or they will stand on their two back legs and grow to like this 10 feet tall creature.
Oh my god. Ah.
And also, they've reportedly seen skinwalkers, which I don't know if you know what a skinwalker is, but
Yeah.
basically, like it might look like a deer, but then it's really not this crazy monster, or like it'll look
Yep.
like a man, but then it's not.
Ew.
So
Ew.
there's theories of an old Appalachian tribe called the Moon-Eyed people. They are described as being short and pale with milky skin and large sun-sensitive eyes.
So me.
They emerged from their underground homes at night to hunt and forage. It was actually the Cherokee that discovered old stone weapons and tools believed to be from this tribe, as well as an interesting looking sculpture, which I'm going to show you right now.
Okay.
So this right here is the sculpture that they found that's supposed to represent the moon people.
Okay.
They don't know, like I don't really know where it originates from, but the Cherokee found it, okay? And then if you look here, this is supposedly where their underground houses were. There wasn't any normal looking doors. They wanted to blend in with the environment for safety reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was kind of cool. One of the like folklore of the
Did
Appalachian.
they have any like openings or ways to get inside? Like, or did they just move
Yeah,
the
they're
rock?
blocked off. They're blocked off now by like all the like rubble and stuff.
Oh my
But
god.
that's
Cool.
what's believed. So
That's amazing. Okay.
yeah, definitely interesting, you know?
Yeah.
So they were said to be unable to see during different phases of the moon, and that during one of these phases, the Creek people basically annihilated the tribe. That's how they believe they became extinct or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have a couple Reddit stories I wanted to share with you.
Ew, my
And
favorite.
it is people's personal experiences that they experienced while hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
So,
Right.
one's a little shorter and one's kind of long, so bear with me.
All right.
But it's good.
Okay.
Okay. So I can't see your face while I'm reading this, by the way.
But I'm sure
Alright.
I'll make plenty of faces.
So the first one is yeah. So this one is my AT Appalachian Trail ghost story. Let me lay out the background. I'm in the south hiking the Appalachian Trail. I'm unsure of the exact location. It was between Pearsburg, VA, and Johnson City, Tennessee. I tried to do some research and I couldn't find much information other than the Bell Witch, and that is the opposite side of Tennessee. This has been tearing me apart for the last 4 years. So, I'm hiking along with my through hiker buddy. It's a clear day and no sign of rain. Nothing but blue skies. We're pretty distant from any town or even road for that matter. The forest is clear of underbrush and nothing but bare trees. We could easily see beyond 300 yards. About 150 to 200 yards away, up on the hill, we both saw a brunette woman gazing off in the distance, not looking towards us. She was wearing a white gown, possibly a simple wedding dress. This is extremely odd for this area. So my pal and myself called out loudly to her, "Hey ma'am, are you lost?" The woman keeps her torso and shoulders still and jerks her head towards us.
Oh my god.
The speed and angle of her head turn should have broken her neck. She let out a sharp, ear-piercing scream, almost like a banshee from one of those old stories, and we ran as fast as we could with our packs. As we're running away, the wind picks up heavily, nearly hurricane levels. Branches are snapping and even heard a tree fall in the distance. The rain started pouring, sideways rain, strong winds. I know the weather can change like a dime in the mountains, but this just felt different. Like we were cold from 80 plus degrees to nearly 60 or less with a wind chill that was constant. Other hikers were caught in the rain as well. They were as confused as we were with the unexplained change in weather. We couldn't tell them what we saw, obviously. We couldn't even explain it to each other. We both knew we had saw her. We continued on the trail and never mentioned it.
It's the weather change for me.
Yeah, like, what?
And the wedding dress, like, that's just weird anyways. You don't see that often.
No.
Oh my god. And they seem like genuinely creeped out by it. Like,
right. So this one is called the Appalachian Horror. So I'm gonna try my best. I grew up in southern Appalachia in western North Carolina, 30 minutes outside of the town of Asheville. The hills and hollers of the Appalachian Mountains are some of the oldest mountains in the world, with some of the rock formations dating back over 1 billion years. That quite literally means they were here before there were terrestrial animals.
wow.
As with most things that have been on the earth a long time, there are inexplicable anomalies, both benevolent and malevolent. For example, the brown mountain lights. Never in my life have I felt threatened or uneasy when witnessing them from Wiseman's view. They're neither good nor evil, they just are. On the benevolent side, sometimes when you walk through an abandoned old church, up near mom and dad's property line, you can feel good, warm, and happy energy. It's like that first warm day of summer when the sunshine is too hot but not too cold. Well, this story is not about one such anomaly. It's about something that was definitely malevolent. About a decade ago, I was in night school up at AB Tech going to school for automotive mechanics. I would go into class about 2 p.m. after I got off my part-time job, and I would end up getting home around 10:30 p.m., depending on the traffic. Every night I drove the same road in my old 1973 W200 Dodge pickup. Some nights it would get rather boring and I would take a different route, jump off I-40 and drive the back roads. On this particular evening, I had decided to just stay on I-40 because I just wanted to go home and go to bed. It was Thursday and there was no class on Friday, and I wanted to get in bed early so I could go out into the woods and go hiking early tomorrow morning. As I jump off I-40 onto the exit where my parents lived, the night seemed to get darker and none of the animals that I could hear through my rolled down windows made any more noise. The cab of my truck became smaller and smaller and my breathing quickened. I have never faced any kind of anxiety in my life, but at that moment, Something felt off, and there was no way I could put my finger on what it was.
Oh, God.
I came to a stop on the exit ramp, turned to go down the road, and I happened to notice that the gas station off the exit where Mom and Dad lived had no lights on. They were a 24-hour truck stop and always had lights on, but I didn't think about it again after noticing. I just chalked it up to power being out, but I could not shake the feeling that something was definitely wrong. I slowly shifted through all of my old truck's gears, not wanting to make any more noise than an old pickup already did. I leaned over my steering wheel to look up at the moon through the windshield, and there were barely any stars visible, which was way out of the ordinary. If you've ever been to Appalachia, primarily the sparsely populated areas where I'm from, you can see the Milky Way on clear nights. An absence of stars back home is only due to cloud cover or whatever the hell went on this particular night. As I rounded a particularly sharp left-hand curve and chugged through a straight stretch before the next right-hander I took at the ancient, decaying barn I always gazed at while riding the stretch of road, and thought about how long that thing had been here and how many advancements in civilizations it had seen. Old Betsy was a good truck, but she didn't stop well. Thump, thump. I heard the fence post I had left in my truck bounce up out of my bed and then back into it as I slid to a stop. The first thought was, oh God, now I have to go tell these neighbors that I ran over their dog. That shit doesn't go real far with people around here, and it can really kind of set them off depending on the dog and the person. As I sat there breathing in the smell of burning rubber, something else found its way into my nose. The stench of rotting flesh. It's not a smell you'll ever forget once you smell it one time. I didn't pay much attention to it at the time. I just chalked it up to some rotting roadkill nearby. Finally, I thought to myself, let me go check and see who this dog belongs to. I pushed my clutch in, shifted to reverse, and as I looked in my rearview mirror, illuminated by the haunting glow of my reverse tail lamps, was the same dog, only it wasn't on four legs anymore. It had stood up like a man.
No.
A man well over 10 feet tall. Only then did it dawn on me that the front of my truck was every bit of 5 feet tall, and this dog was every bit of 5 feet tall at the shoulder on all fours.
Oh my God.
As it turned its head to look in the direction of my truck, I caught only a glimpse of this creature. It was not a dog. It was not a man. It was something in between, and at the same time entirely separate altogether. Its skin hung loose off its emaciated and thin frame, like a raccoon. Bits of matted fur and dirt and mud clung to its legs like a disease. The right arm seemed a little bit longer than the left, and they both hung abnormally low in relation to either animal this creature seemed to be. As it regained its senses, it turned and looked into the mirror like it knew exactly where I was sitting. The face of that of a man's, but the very edges of its face seemed to not be totally defined. They seemed to move and change like something you would see at a cellular level in a scientific documentary. There were no eyes, but only sockets where the eyes should have been. No hair. No hair, and the skin that was dripping off its face was a cold, lifeless gray color. The nose was short and shoved into its face like a bulldog, but the teeth still haunt me. It was definitely carnivorous, true to form of the rest of its unnatural look. Many of the teeth didn't seem to be arranged in a natural way in its mouth. They seemed to fill and spill forth from the unidentifiable face, almost like they knew the horror they occupied and they were searching for a way out. It stared through my life, into my eyes, and past my soul. It seemed like an eternity, but it could not have been more than 5 seconds that I sat there, paralyzed. A light came on at the house next to the road, causing the creature to snap its gaze in the direction and tear off into the woods on its back 2 legs like a man. I jammed my old truck in first gear and roasted tires all the way through first, snatched second gear, and drove as fast as I could home. When I got to the house, both of my parents were asleep. I went downstairs in my bedroom and loaded every firearm I possessed and locked all of the doors. I couldn't wake them up. Who the fuck would believe that? And at 10:30 on a Thursday night, the basement was eerily quiet that night. Even their dogs that got up to raise hell at outside animals at all hours of the night were dead silent.
Ugh.
The old post and beam house didn't even creak or pop that night, as was usual. At about 3 a.m., I started to finally get drowsy, and as I went to lay my head down to get some sleep so I could still attempt to go hiking the next morning, I smelled the stench of death again.
Ugh.
It was faint at first, but it was definitely there. I thought to myself, you're just going crazy. None of that shit was real. But as I dwelled on it, it became more and more noticeable until it filled the entire basement.
Oh my god.
My dad has a home office in the basement with 2 large glass doors that face the National Forest. I finally worked up the courage to walk out of my bedroom and into the basement living room. With my little tactical 12-gauge loaded tack light on, I covered the flashlight with my hand so as not to make my presence known until need be. And as I turned right out of the living room into my father's office, I shined the light through the glass door, and at the edge of the woods, there stood the creature.
Ugh.
It was motionless. It stared right into the light, unafraid, with those soulless sockets. I quickly covered my tactical light, ran into the living room, flipped on the outdoor floodlights, and to my surprise, it was no longer standing at the edge of the woods, but between the house and the edge of the woods, still motionless. I swung the door open and fired every round I had in its direction. I must have scored a couple hits because it screeched an unearthly scream, like that of a woman being slaughtered as I took off into the woods.
Jesus.
The dogs went crazy. Mom and Dad woke up asking me what the hell I was doing. I told them that a bear had gotten into the trash and I was scaring it away. They didn't believe me, but I knew they wouldn't believe the truth either. I didn't sleep that night or any time until the following Sunday. Everything seems to return to normal, and I didn't think about the creature again until I met my wife about 6 years later. Her mother's house sits at the mouth of the holler, no more than 4 or 5 miles up the road from my mother and father's. Up on the side of the holler, there are kennels for her brother's hunting dogs, no longer in use and haven't been in years, but the fence is still there and the concrete pad is still there. It's a thing of great use when you need to quarantine an animal. Her Great Pyrenees had gotten into a tussle with a raccoon, which of course he destroyed, but his rabies vaccination had lapsed, so we had to keep him quarantined for a time. It didn't bother him, he kind of liked solitude. This particular night that we were coming home from a movie date in a neighboring town was the last night of quarantine for him. So we walked up the trail using our phone flashlights to get to the kennel where he sat, patiently waiting, tail wagging, happy to see us. We put him on a leash and started walking back to the house with him. As we were walking back through the darkness, I started to feel the same feeling I had the night I hid the creature in my truck. I didn't say anything so as not to alarm my wife, but then the smell came wafting in on the breeze. She jokingly asked me, "My God, what did you eat? You stink." I half-assed laughed, not being able to fully appreciate the joke for the horrors that raged in my mind. She immediately caught on and asked me what's wrong, to which I could only reply, "I'll tell you later." She grew up in the woods and around hunting and things of that nature her whole life, so she knew what I meant. She knew we were being watched by something. When we could see the lights of the house from the trail to the kennel, we heard it. There came barking from the kennel that sounded just like the Great Pyrenees we had on the leash next to us. It was a perfect imitation. The Pyrenees, being a guardian dog, immediately sensed that something was wrong, and so he turned to face the danger, belting out deep barks and growls in that direction. I don't know if you ever had to drag a 150-pound dog, but it sucks and it's no easy task. I'm 6 foot tall and 240 pounds, and it was all I could do to get him back in the house. The barking never ceased the entire time we were running towards the house. In fact, it seemed to grow closer and closer until it seemed it was coming from inside my own head. Her mother heard the commotion and flipped the floodlights on as we made it into the fence of the yard, and I caught a glimpse of something coming to a dead stop at the end of where the light reached, wheeling around and tearing off back into the darkness. My wife looks at me and goes, "You want to tell me what the fuck that was?" To which I replied, "Yes, let's go inside." I told her the story and she listened intently, hanging on every word. Her family came from a long line of granny witches and other supernatural healers of the Appalachians. So her older sister came over the next morning with some herbs and chants to bless the property and to ward off evil. I suggested we go up to the dog kennels and do them as well. When we got to the kennels, they were completely destroyed. The very concrete foundation was cracked and the chain link fence was torn off its post.
Oh my god.
The dog houses were destroyed and the place reeked of the stench that followed the creature. My wife's older sister just went on about her business like normal, blessed the place, burnt some herbs, and led us back to the property. When we got to the house, she wheeled about on us suddenly and instructed us very firmly to never go in the woods after dark, not until this thing left me alone. To make a long story short, my wife joined the military and she ended up getting stationed in Delaware. Well, as someone who's lived around fairly large mountains and endless wilderness their entire life, Delaware is pretty terrible. At least that was my thought when we first moved to the middle of a 50,000 plus population city. Fortunately, though, it didn't take us long to find a house in a sleepy little community further south. We purchased the house and moved in with we purchased the house and moved in. We were both very grateful and glad to be out of the city in a rural setting again. The land in Delaware seems lifeless in comparison to the Appalachia. The sparsely populated woods don't possess any energy that goes one way or the other. The ground doesn't seem to be alive like it is in Appalachia. Having no thought about the creature in a long time, I resumed my staying outside after dark and playing with our dogs in a rather large yard that borders a small patch of woods. Well, last night, I went outside to play with the dogs, and as dark set in, I built a decent sized fire in my pit and consumed some good old fashioned Appalachian Mountain cough syrup from a mason jar. And just as the fire was dying down, my American bulldog tore off towards the woods. He has a habit of running off to go on adventures, so my immediate instinct was to chase him down in the yard and tackle him so he could not get away. As I tackled his 110-pound ass to the ground and threw him to a fireman's carry over my shoulders, I heard him begin to bark. Only the bark was not coming from him. The only sound coming from him was a deep, rumbling growl, a noise I've never heard him make. It was a threatening noise. Something was definitely wrong, and as I ran with him on my shoulders back to the house, the stench of death again began to fill the air. The two other dogs must have caught wind of what was happening and met me back at the door, which I threw open, slammed shut, locked, and again loaded my firearms. How the hell could this thing have followed us 650 miles up here? As I flipped my floodlights on, at the backside of my house, several of the bushes and small trees at the forest edge were still shaking, like something had just run through them. My dogs went crazy all night, barking and howling and attempting to get out the windows. I didn't sleep a bit, and I don't think I will for a while. I know for sure I won't be in the woods after dark ever again in my life. Not until this thing is finally gone. And that's it.
Oh my god. Now I'm scared of going to the woods ever again. Ever. And on top of that, the whole time we were telling this story, like while you were, I don't know if you could hear it, it started pouring and thundering and it got super dark. And I'm just like, I am sitting here and I have the only light in the house right now on me and it's pitch black everywhere else. And I'm just like,
that's so funny. I can't wait to watch back the recording because I couldn't see your face the whole time.
Oh, I know I made some good ones.
Yeah, creepy as fuck.
That is so creepy. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
So with that being said, I have a little video to show.
Oh no, are you serious?
It's super short, and a lot of people claim that it's fake.
Okay.
But when I seen the video, it was literally like 10 minutes after I read that Reddit story.
Ugh.
And pretty sure it's exactly what that man described.
Okay.
So tell me what you think. I'm sure you have an image in your head based on what I read. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Let me turn the volume down on it a little bit. Isn't that creepy?
I don't like that at all. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up at that. This week, we're just going to keep the first two segments since we went over a little bit, but that's fine. We're having fun. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to send us any feedback on Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube, follow our social media, and we'll also be linking any videos that we showed in the description. So
as well as those links for support for Hawaii too.
Yes, don't forget about that.